Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming with a report. We got to talk about these June Washington football team OTAs that went down today. Mandatory minicamp next week. But today, we're talking about the practices, the press conferences. I'm going to show y'all clips. I'm going to give a full breakdown and everything. We're going to discuss which players stood out. I'm going to give y'all some injury updates. And then, like I said, with the press conferences, we're going to talk about some notable things that players and coaches said. And at the end, I'm gonna show y'all some clips. And before we get to this, make sure you subscribe for more content. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately when I release a video or when I start up a live stream. Endless content coming. Film sessions for the entire rookie class, including undrafted free agent rookie running back Jared Patterson. And check out my playlist. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. All of my videos are organized, so make sure you go check those out as well. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get it. Alright, so first of all, Montez Sweat, Charles Leno, and Steven Sims were all present to Wednesday's Washington football team OTAs after missing last week's open practice. Again, these are voluntary. Charles Leno was gone because his wife recently had a child. Montez Sweat was working elsewhere. We still don't know about why Steven Sims was not there, but all three of them have returned. Chase Young is the only one that still isn't present. And I mean, if you look at this clip right here, I'm not very worried about him not being there. I want him there for his leadership, but it gives the younger guys like 7th round draft pick William Bradley King and also Shaka Toney, the guy we got last year, James Smith Williams. This gives all of them an opportunity to get meaningful snaps, to develop and to just get better and to go against a higher level of offensive line than if Chase Young were there. If Chase Young were there, at best, they would go against the second string offensive line. But with Chase Young gone, that gives somebody like a William Bradley King the opportunity to go against the ones and play with the ones. And even like a James Smith Williams, if he normally plays with the third stringers, now he could potentially play with the second stringers. So that's the one silver lining in it. But of course, again, I prefer Chase Young to be there. And then also notable, Jonathan Allen was not here this time. He was there last week. He was not here today, as in Wednesday. And it's reported that he let them know ahead of time that he wouldn't be there. But I haven't seen a report as to why he wasn't there this week, but was there last week. But mandatory minicamp start next week. Everybody's going to be there. None of this is going to matter. Now moving on to the notable standouts. First of all, the highlight from last week was Dyami Brown's deep ball. This week, it is Logan Thomas coming down with a great contested catch from a very good pass from Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw it the only where Logan Thomas could get it, and Logan Thomas reached out and grabbed it with one hand anyway. And he may not be the fastest or quickest guy, but he knows how to contort his body to make a catch. So that's really good. The fact that he's building on what he already did last year and only getting better. I mean, just based off of his trajectory from last year, he started off week one iffy, and then by the end of the season, we all loved him. And I think he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. He should have made the Pro Bowl over Evan Ingram. So if he's going to keep getting better and better, I see a Pro Bowl in his future this year. But we're going to have to pay him. This is the last year of his contract, so that's going to get really interesting at the end of the year as well. Next up, free safety Bobby McCain picked off his former teammate Ryan Fitzpatrick. They're both coming from the Dolphins. They were both captains for the Dolphins as well, so remember that we brought in 2 captains from the Dolphins to come join this team, along with Eric Flowers, who wasn't a captain, but he was an ex-Dolphin. So it's interesting to have 3 ex-Dolphins brought into the team at the same time. But my boy Bobby McCain, who I feel like is going to be the day one starter at free safety for us, picked off Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if anybody knows Ryan Fitzpatrick is Bobby McCain, because he's been practicing against them all last season. I'm hoping Cameron Curl starting at strong safety, Bobby McCain starting at free safety, and then we'll work in Landon Collins and Jeremy Reeves when applicable. Then Jamin Davis, just like last week, once again was lined up at middle linebacker with Cole Holcomb and John Bostic as the outside linebackers. Again, like I said last week, I don't want John Bostic as an outside linebacker. If he can't start at Mike, he might as well just be a depth piece for the Mike, because I don't want him covering wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, nothing. I don't want John Bostic in coverage ever. I like his ability to call plays, but beyond that, I don't love much to his game. But at the end of the day, The only thing that I'm even relatively comfortable with him going out there and doing is running the Mike linebacker position. But Jamin Davis is just so freakishly athletic. His instincts are so great that they're trying him at Mike linebacker. He may be Ron Rivera's Luke Kuechly. I feel like the closest comparison to him in his play style is pretty much like a more athletic Darius Leonard or Lavonte David. So he can play Sam, Will, Mike, whichever one you want. But ultimately, just like offensive line, if you have a really talented offensive lineman that can play both tackle or guard, you play him at tackle because that's more of a premium position. Same thing with linebacker. If you have a guy that can play Sam, Mike, and Will at a very high level, you play him at Mike because that's a more premier position, and it's harder to find somebody that can play Mike than it is to find somebody to play Sam or Will at a high level. But we're in nickel most of the time anyway, so Mike, Sam, Will, it's not going to really matter that much to us. Maybe this next year we are in base defense more often, but last year we were outside of our base defense more than 60% of the time, so there was no Mike, Sam, or Will. It was just two off-ball linebackers out there doing their thing. But again, it's very encouraging that last week in OTAs where they were experimenting, trying Trey Apke at corner and things like that, we had to take Jamin Davis starting at Mike linebacker with a grain of salt. But now going into the next week of OTAs, he's doing the same thing. This may build up a little bit of hype. We'll see at mandatory mini camps, and we'll definitely see at training camp where Jamin Davis is starting. But back-to-back Mike linebacker has me very encouraged. I'm excited because, again, I think Ron Rivera found his Luke Kuechly, but just more in the play style and the build of a more athletic Darius Leonard and Lavonte David. I'm excited. Other standouts also include Jared Patterson. He made a great cut on 11-on-11 drills. Made one move and he was sprinting up the middle of the defense. They're saying that he looks great in practices so far, catching passes easily and making the necessary cuts. I think Jared Patterson's gonna ball out for us. Also, John Bates caught a contested pass with Kendall Fuller all over him. I'm a big John Bates fan. Ever since I went and watched this film, I'm very excited. I think his floor is a solid tight end too. And I think he's going to probably surprise some people and end up being a really good tight end. And we might have something really in the works with Logan Thomas and John Bates as a two-headed monster at tight end. We can finally run two tight end sets with a straight face, which is what Scott Turner's been wanting to run this whole time, which is what Jay Gruden wanted to do, but he couldn't do it with the tight ends he had as well. Now we can finally open up the playbook, unlock that last 20%. Where we can finally run two tight end sets like offensive coordinators and head coaches have been wanting to run here for years. We may have finally found that with John Bates, and still can't forget Sammis Reyes. He's developing, but we'll see. Also, Steven Sims and Isaiah Wright both caught touchdowns today. Nice catches from nice throws. They're both on the outside looking in, but it's good news to hear that they finally made some plays in practice. A lot of competition in the wide receiver room. Is going to be interesting to see who makes it out. Again, I doubt Isaiah Wright and Steven Sims make the 53-man roster. Both of them are definitely on the outside looking in. But it's good to hear them making plays, and the fact that the wide receiver room is still competitive and the job isn't just going to be handed to the other guys. They're going to have to go out there and outplay Steven Sims and Isaiah Wright, even if they're projected to take the spot over them as of right now. And then lastly, as far as standouts go, Steven Montez was not only getting work as the third quarterback, but he was also doing some non-QB drills, like including special teams and things like that. They're trying to make Montez Sweat become like the plug-in anywhere. If there's an injury anywhere, he's ready to step up and fill in for multiple jobs. And it's worthy to note that Montez Sweat is vaccinated and had the virus. So Rivera does feel like he could be a perfect plug-in player for any random situation that may go down. Quarterback, special teams returner. Anything. A Taysom Hill-like role at quarterback where we can run a read option or wildcat or anything. It sounds like they're trying to carve out a role for Montez Sweat to potentially make this roster as just a do-it-all type of guy. The athleticism is there. He's not a freak athlete, but it's definitely enough to where you can see him getting a role like that carved out for him on this roster with a straight face. Now the injury update. Gotta start with the most important one. It's Antonio Gibson. Remember, Antonio Gibson had a turf toe injury last season, and he's still working to get 100%, and that's been his primary focus this offseason. He was training at Exos in Texas, and he's healthy enough to practice at OTAs, and he's pretty much full go at practices, but he's just not 100% himself. But the Tay and Todd podcast have a great point that, like, Turf toe is clearly a lingering injury, and you can tell just by the fact that he sustained that injury in early December and he's still recovering in June. So there's definitely some concern there, but I think he's gonna be straight. I mean, even on the turf toe in late December, he still looked pretty good. So I'm thinking by the time August comes around, September, he's gonna be ready to go. But it is still wild that he sustained that injury in just early December, played on it in late December, and he's still struggling to come back to 100% himself. But again, he looks good out there. He's running full speed and everything. If the regular season were to start today, he would be ready to start. But he said it himself that he can tell he's still not 100% himself. Also, Curtis Samuel and Saahdiq Charles were off working on the side of the fields today. Samuels was on the sideline because he felt a twinge in his groin, so safety precaution. And then as far as Saahdiq Charles, there was nothing major that happened. They're just taking precaution with his workout. They don't want to overwork him. We saw how he was so injury prone last season. They don't want to repeat that same mistake this season. Taylor Heinicke wore a hat during the morning's 2-hour proceedings and didn't play for any 11-on-11 work. That's why Kyle Allen was the second string quarterback and Steven Montez was able to become the third string quarterback. Taylor Heinicke was on the sideline because Rivera revealed that Heinicke took an elbow to the face during a previous walkthrough from one of the running backs, and the gash that resulted from the collision required stitches. So Taylor Heinicke sat out because of an injury that happened before OTAs. Also, Barber was banged up in practices and went down, but nothing major. But defensive end Daniel Wise was carted off. So those are the only major injuries. Taylor Heinicke a few days ago took an elbow to the face, so he has a gash. Curtis Samuel felt like he tweaked his groin a little bit. Barber was banged up, and then defensive end Daniel Wise was carted off. But that's literally it, which is great for us as far as what we've dealt with in previous seasons. A new field that Rio and Rivera has installed for the practices and the way that we practice hard. So when we play on Sundays, their body's not in shock from getting hit hard. So it's a slow ramp up, but we're not just doing regular just walkthroughs like Jay Gruden used to do, and it's looking like the results are fruitful. Less injuries for sure, whether it be the way that they're practicing and again the field conditions on how Rivera updated the field just this off season, did a complete remake over for it. All of those things matter. Now also, the players and coaches addressed the media, started with Antonio Gibson. He said that he's been enjoying the process and getting his feet wet, and he's starting to pick up some aspects more quickly. Because remember, last season, Antonio Gibson was a rookie, and the rookies didn't have any type of offseason. Chase Young, Cameron Curl, Antonio Gibson as the notable standouts from our rookie class last year. None of them had a real offseason. No OTAs, no mini camps, no rookie mini camps, no mandatory mini camps, and then barely a training camp that had a ramp up period to where they were only like full blown training camp like the last couple of weeks. They didn't even really get the month-long training camp that they're gonna get this year. So it's nice to hear that like they're enjoying the fact that they finally have an offseason. They feel like rookies again. Gibson also said last year was more of a learning process from him moving primarily to running back. He's learning more about the position, and that can help him take a bigger step. So now that he's had almost an entirely full season at running back, now is more so learning how to get better with the position rather than just learning the position from step one, going from receiver to running back. Now it's more of a natural thing to him. He's just going to get better with the little things rather than just learning the position just as an entirely new thing. Rivera also said he expects Gibson to take a big jump this season. He knows the coaches believe in him and thinks this year will be a good one for him. Also, Gibson is a new father and he's really enjoying it. So Charles Leno and Gibson have both recently had children, and Gibson admitted that his sleep schedule has been a little hectic since having a child, which makes sense. Having children, your sleep schedule is crazy. Curtis Samuel also addressed the media. He said it's been exciting for him to be with a new team and new players he's enjoying every day, and he wants to come in and add value to the team. And of course, him and Terry McLaurin are like best friends from Ohio State. He also talked about a funny story where him and Terry McLaurin went fishing. You may also want to check that out. Samuel also said he wants to take his game to the next level, and he feels like working with Ryan Fitzpatrick is allowing him to do that. Because Ryan Fitzpatrick going to throw it up there. It's up to you to make the play. You do not have to worry about Ryan Fitzpatrick like you had to with your previous quarterbacks, where is he gonna throw it? Like, I'm gonna be open, but it's whether or not the ball even gets thrown my way. Oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick's gonna throw the ball your way. You better go up there and make a play though. Curtis Samuel also addressed how much fun it's been being back with Terry McLaurin and how they were roommates at Ohio State for 3 years. He even said that he taught Terry McLaurin how to dance. I gotta see it. I gotta see that. Samuel said the energy is really high amongst players. That alone makes them want to buy into the culture. But I'm telling you, this Rivera thing matters a lot. I'm telling y'all, Rivera has hired guys to do specific things. Scott Turner to handle offense, Jack Del Rio to handle the defense, and then all of these different guys in the scouting department, the business side with Jason Wright and all of those guys. Ron Rivera is mostly here just to be the leader and instill a firm, dependable, consistent culture. And he's doing just that. I mean, the Ron Rivera hire, y'all are going to see. We're going to look back 10 years from now and be truly thankful that we brought in Ron Rivera when we did. And Samuels also said that his mindset is built on he wants to do everything he can to help the team when he has the ball in his hands. If you make more plays, that'll encourage the coaches to get you the ball more. So he's basically trying to stand out in practices and early into the season so that he can get the ball more and as much as possible as the season goes on. He wants to show the coaches that he's a dependable option, whether you give him the ball out of the backfield or when he's running routes. Either way, he wants the ball. Also, Taylor Heinicke, with the injury on his head, addressed the media and basically just talked about how the injury happened and things like that, and he can't wait to get back onto the field. Also, Jack Del Rio addressed the media. He said he thinks the players are doing a tremendous job of putting in the work and the effort. He also said he spoke with Chase Young last night. He's been working out and staying in shape, as you'd expect. So Chase Young is definitely communicating with Jack Del Rio and the other coaches that he wouldn't be at practice and also why he wouldn't as well. Jack Del Rio also said that Jamin Davis is made of the right stuff. Compared to him, the first round pick, Chase Young, and his approach, saying that he is all business. I love that. Chase Young last year, Chase Young 2.0, but at the off-ball linebacker position in the second year. Man, these draft picks are coming through, man. These first-round picks matter. Del Rio also said he thinks the secondary is going to be a competitive group. They've already got their hands on a few interceptions so far. They're working hard, and that's what it's all about. And they'll get plenty of opportunities to show what they can do. Oh, yeah, they sure will. Del Rio also said Cameron Curl can fit wherever you want to put him. So that leaves me optimistic. I want him starting at strong safety, but the fact that Del Rio is so high on Cameron Curl and he feels like he can play a multitude of positions and is versatile enough to do a lot of different things, sounds like he'll be on the field no matter what, whether it be a strong safety or whatever. Cameron Curl will be on the field, and that's all I care about. Jack Del Rio also went on to say that he believes Jamin Davis can play all three spots of the linebacker core, and if anybody knows what he's talking about, it's Del Rio. Del Rio also said he wants Young, Sweat, Payne, Jonathan Allen, and then just the entire Washington's defensive line to take another step this season. So I like the fact that he's calling them out. I mean, yeah, you're one of the strengths of the team. You may be the best defensive line in football, but that doesn't mean you can't get better. So I like that from Jack Del Rio. Ron Rivera also addressed the media. He said going forward, there's nothing set in stone. A lot of these positions will be competitive. Every position has an opportunity to have a different player start for the most part. There are a couple that are pretty solid though. I'm not going to lie to you about that. So I like the fact that he kept it real. Like, of course, there are some positions that we already know who's going to start there. But all in all, there's an open competition everywhere on the field. Just because you started last year does not mean you're going to automatically start this year. It's an open competition. Whoever's playing the best is gonna start, period. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. I love that. Rivera also said that he's very pleased of what he's seen so far. He loves the attentiveness and that today they started fast and finished fast. And you remember last year, it was kind of an adjustment period. It was a little bit of a struggle for guys to start fast and finish fast. I remember seeing him yelling at guys in last year's off-season practices, the very limited ones that we had. He was just trying to preach to them, man, we got to keep going. You got to push the whole time. There's no laziness. There's no jogging or nothing. And he wants that to carry all the way to Sundays. He wants us to start fast and finish fast on Sundays. So, of course, you have to start fast and finish fast in practices. He said the team's attentiveness has been a huge plus. Their players giving their all on every rep. He also mentioned Ryan Fitzpatrick helping out the wide receivers to build a better connection on their routes. As you remember from last week's OTAs, I mean, he was literally stopping Logan Thomas and the receivers and saying, okay, this is how I like things done. How do you like things done? And we're going to work on it like this. This is how we're going to build chemistry. We're going to talk this out. We're not just going to figure this out by time passing and us throwing routes. We're going to communicate back and forth and figure this out like right now, as soon as possible, so we can be ready to go out there and make plays and not still learning on the fly when week one hits us. We don't want any growing pains week one. We want to go out there week one looking like it's week 8 type of thing. And I love that. Rivera also discussed the hiring of Dr. Barbara Roberts. There's a lot of things these players are going through and they need someone to help them through it. It's very important and very vital to the organization. And I agree. I broke down the hire in my video yesterday, so definitely go check that out. But again, just all in all, I love the hiring of Dr. Barbara Roberts. I love a lot of our hires we've been making these last 2 seasons. Very pivotal. Definitely building a future Super Bowl contender. Rivera also said the expectation for Antonio Gibson is to take another big step. He was a scoring machine for Washington last season, and they want him to push that further. Rivera also said the team has a tremendous amount of confidence in its players. The offensive line is going to be a competitive group. Nothing set in stone, but they're going to play the best guys, like I just talked about earlier. And he also said that the younger defensive linemen have done a great job competing and taking advantage of their opportunities, like I said earlier, with Chase Young not there the past 2 weeks, with Montez Sweat not there until this week. These younger defensive linemen have had a great opportunity to step up and play with the ones against the ones and get some meaningful snaps for their development. And Rivera is basically saying he's taking notice and that they have been taking advantage of their unique opportunity to finally get some meaningful snaps in practice, with the guys above them in the depth chart not being there early on. And then lastly, Curl also said, with his first ever OTAs, it feels good because it's another opportunity to learn and understand the defense more. And again, like I spoke about with Antonio Gibson and Chase Young, and I briefly mentioned Cameron Curl, that entire rookie class last season did not have OTAs. They did not have rookie mini camps. They didn't have mandatory mini camps, and they barely had a training camp. So guys like Cameron Curl, we can only expect them to get even better going into this next season, because now they finally have a full off season of finally learning their roles and what they should and should not be doing on the field on Sundays. Granted, it's nice for them to get a crash course in it last season like they did, where they just had to pretty much learn on the fly in games on Sunday, but now it's nice for them to actually be able to take a step back and practice and learn some things during the off season where, you know, the game isn't on the line. And like I promised, here's some clips from the practices today. Just only a few, just to show y'all some clips so y'all can just see a few things. I'll have the title on the clip, so here you go. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please like it if you learned anything. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get more informative and opinionated videos like this one, more in-depth videos like this one. Be on the lookout for all of my live streams, my film sessions coming out for the entire rookie class. And as always, man, I really appreciate all of the support, man. Big shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel. Big shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. And a big shouts out, a special shouts out to my one All-Pro sponsor, Jaden. Man, I really appreciate all y'all, man. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.